Go on, go down the slide, Lucy.
Go down the slide. Go down the slide and you warm up. Go on and I'll give you a turn.
One more time. Go.
Run, Ben, quick. Run up the slide, run up the slide.
In the building side.
Where?
In the building side. I don't know why is it.
Show me. I'm coming. Do you like Post Malone?
This here. It burned out.
Did it burn out?
Yeah, look. Let's see the burnout.
Come on, so.
Put you in a necklace, girl, you look beautiful tonight. Stars on the roof, they're matching with the jewelry. My hippie going psycho, the mama bad like Michael. Can't really trust nobody.
What is it?
Fire.
Who lit that fire?
Granddad. Granddad did that.
Did he?
Look, it's gone.
What is?
The Dr. Stuffin's chair.
The Doc McStuffins chair?
Yeah. Oh, Bernie girl.
Where's it gone?
Maybe. I don't know.
I race it.
I win.
No, I won.
I won.
No, I definitely won.
I won too. But
Well, the one first kind over now, so.
why can we not have another one? Light it again.
How many bonfires do you want to have in one night?
Alright, so to continue on what I was talking about last week briefly and a little prelude to today's video. So last week I was talking about how I don't really know what I'm at and how so it was my birthday and it's hard to define really what you're doing, especially a man in your 20s. It's hard to define what you're doing with your life, or are you just arsing around? Are you at anything at all? So basically this week I was thinking then about success, and everyone obviously wants to be successful, and success is a worthy goal, isn't it? To be successful, shouldn't you be setting out to be successful? But what exactly is success then is the real question, because if you don't know what it is for you, then you don't know what you're aiming for, and you're probably never going to hit it, but you're never going to miss it either, which is probably failing, isn't it? If you're not aiming for anything and you're not achieving anything, and you're not even trying to achieve anything, isn't that failing? So it got me thinking about what exactly I would define as success. And it's hard to put your fingers on. It's probably in a conversation like the healthy diet. It's hard to know exactly what it is. Like if you're successful in your sport, so in your 20s, does that make you a successful person? In a way, I suppose it does. But does that mean that everyone from Dublin or the Kerry underage teams or fucking Kerfin or Castlebar is an awful successful man in their 20s? Yeah, it does in their sport, but probably not an awful successful person. No, you can't really say that, because they could be miserable in other aspects. And then you definitely can't define them by money. We all know people who might have brilliant college courses, brilliant degrees under their belt, but are miserable because they've no people skills. Like, it seems to be okay in a lot of ways to say to someone, okay, he's fucking going nowhere because he's dumb as fuck, or he's not good at school. But if you were to say to someone then who's really smart and has loads of money, you're going nowhere and you're going to be miserable because you have no people skills, it's ignorant. So that's kind of what I was thinking anyway. It seems to be ignorant to say that, even though you could be dumb at school, and I was fucking no genius at school, and you could be very happy, very successful in your own way, and you could be unbelievably successful financially or with money, and then miserable in your own way. So it's a contradiction. I think success, we're presented now with so many images of success, as in like it's something to be achieved and something to be like sought after, as in it's this Lamborghini, or it's fucking something like Conor McGregor's lifestyle, when in reality no one is like one in a million is going to achieve something like that level of success. So for me, existentialism is probably the most achievable form of success, and that sounds like a big word, and it is a big word, but I learned about it first in college, and then I heard Tim Ferriss talk about it a lot. So basically it's a way of living your own way, on your own terms, doing things that you like and constantly experimenting, rather than a way of thinking or a destination that you land on where you become successful. It's more learning to do new things and constantly being a human being, going through the human experience, being bad at stuff, good at stuff, failing. So that's what I like anyway. I like to be constantly trying new things, trying new business ideas, trying new ideas, just new things in general, full stop, being bad at stuff. So existing meaningfully rather than just going by every day living the same way or the exact same way, or talking about shite that doesn't need to be talked about. Go and try and actually do stuff. Even you don't have to be good at it, but just actually living and doing stuff. So for me, what would that be? Well, I love cooking, I love going to the gym, trying any new physical activity really, traveling, meeting new people, developing people skills, stuff that can't really be taught in school or go through college. But anyway, I hope this little rant makes sense, and the message I'm trying to get across is, if you don't feel successful, you don't feel like, oh my god, I know what I'm doing, don't worry about it. If you're trying new things, if you're trying to go and experience different things, go and travel to new places, you're trying to enjoy yourself, then you are really successful, because you're actually being somebody and you're actually doing something, rather than wasting your time talking about shite, dealing in small shite, dealing in small talk all the time. You're actually helping people and doing things. That's success for me anyway. That's my prelude to the cooking video, and nothing is more nothing's more successful than having meat and nuts for breakfast. So that's right up here next. The next episode of Strength and Health Food is meat and nuts breakfast. Let's go. Alright, so meal number 2 in the Strength and Health Food series is one of my favourites, and you'll be hearing a lot more about this, is the meat and nuts breakfast. So, there is no such thing as a fat burning breakfast, or a breakfast that burns fat, but chances are, if you have meat and nuts for breakfast, the chances of you burning fat or having fat loss or achieving fat loss is far higher, for a few reasons. For number 1, the fact that you're eating proteins and fats for breakfast means you're far less likely, and no carbohydrates means you're far less likely to overeat carbohydrates, which are, for most people, for the majority of people, the far easiest to overeat in terms of calories. The second thing is that it's very high protein. So anyone who eats high protein earlier in the day has been shown through studies to generally eat less food throughout the day, because protein is far more filling, takes longer to digest, etc. And it does various things to your neurotransmitters eating protein early in the day, which leaves you more focused, more concentrated, and less likely to just binge and pick the easy option later on in the day. Also, people generally like eating carbohydrates at night time. Carbohydrates do stimulate serotonin production, and serotonin is what relaxes you, calms you, and puts you to sleep. So as a general rule, would you like to be having protein and fats last thing before you go to bed? Not really. You prefer to be having carbohydrates, boiled oats, something like that. I know it's very popular, especially with the 2 boys, but as a general rule, protein and fats first thing in the morning people like. If you can think of eggs and bacon is a standard enough breakfast. So this is just a healthier, now we know that word, what it means, or what it does and doesn't mean, or what it can mean. This is a healthier option than, say, eggs and bacon Not to say that you can't have them sometimes, of course you can. Now remember what I'm saying, calories are always number one, but with protein and fats for breakfast, you are far more likely to hit your protein goal, you're far less likely to exceed your carbohydrate goal, and you're just going to feel better, be more full, especially in the morning. Your brain function is going to be better, so they're all the benefits of it. So this is one I've been toying with lately. It's only got a few recipes, it's very quick to cook, about 10-20 minutes, and I have it nearly every morning for the last month or two, but I do change it up a little bit. Okay, so the ingredients first. Some butter, which is what I fry the meat in, some 300 grams, which is a lot, I know, but you can just adjust the amount of meat you eat yourself. 300 grams of beef mince from Paul Kane's, then a clove of garlic, half an onion, so I'm going to cut this in half, I'll show you in a second, 50 grams of cashew nuts, on a bed of spinach, and then I might as well show you what I use to cook it as well. Apart from the oven, obviously, is a very sharp cutting knife, just a normal knife, steak knife, and then a fork. And I use that for stirring in it, and I add plenty of water to the pan as I go, but I'll show you that as I'm cooking. First thing, cut the clove of garlic and cut the onion. Then you're left with garlic and onion chopped just neatly like that. Alright, so a knob of butter in the pan to melt. I weigh about 50 grams of cashew nuts. There we go, because it takes so long, you know, to weigh your food. And then I just take the nuts and the chopped up garlic and onion and fry it up in the butter for about 2 minutes before I add the meat. And at this stage I usually add some water, because the big thing with cooking meat is you don't want it to get too dry, because if it's dried out meat, it doesn't matter the quality of it, it's gonna fucking taste like shit. So you don't want to dry out your meat, so I put a good bit of water in the pan, and it always just like evaporates or soaks through the meat. It helps to caramelize the onions as well, which is so tasty, and that ends up looking something like this. So then I move on to adding about 300 grams of beef mince. Now the quality of the beef mince is all important. I get mine from Paul Kane's, but the quality of your meat is so important for taste, for flavour. Usually in every town, every single town, especially if you live in a city, there's always at least a few good butchers that serve high quality meat. I know I always get mine in the same place, I'm always raving on about it. And any one of my clients who I tell to get meat there is always so happy with it as well. It's where my parents have always got their meat. My granddad in particular, my mom told me this, was always adamant on buying high quality meat because he was a farmer himself. And my uncle is still over that farm now. So good quality meat is so important, especially when you see some of the fucking dog shit meat people eat on processed and packaged and homemade dinners. It's just like, it's definitely not what it should be. So beautiful red colour, really fresh meat. As far as I know, Paul Kane gets all his beef from his own farm down the road, or at least most of it anyway. And that's just some paprika sprinkled on it. That's the only spice I use for this particular breakfast. But it's so good, and then you just stir that round until it's done, and you can see the water stops it from getting too dry. And next, right before the meat is cooked, just put a bed of spinach on the plate before I dish it onto it. Spinach is always so nice, so easy to eat. And apparently, I've read this before in a book, I think it was Johnny Bowden's book, The 150 Healthiest Foods on Earth, that if you eat spinach with fats, you know, when it kind of dissolves or kind of soaks up, it helps break down the spinach so you can absorb the phytonutrients, which are the nutrients in more or less any green veg are phytonutrients. Now, not just green veg, but green veg in particular. So that's an extra bonus if you're eating high fat with spinach. It does tend to take the nutrients out of it far better, or so I've read. Bro Science 101. And that's it done, that's all she wrote, TI job. Remember what I said, don't let the meat dry out, because it just won't taste as good. So it should be plenty of moisture. If it does get too dry, just make sure you pour in some a little bit of water or whatever. It'll dry out quickly if you pour in a good bit of water, so don't worry if it looks watery for the first 30 seconds or so. And then just put that onto this plate of spinach. The onions, garlic and butter give it a really nice taste. The cashews taste delicious and they're a little bit crunchy with it. And then, like, it's full of micronutrients from the spinach and all the rest of the ingredients. As well as a good quality red meat is always going to be really rich in micronutrients as well. So it's as good a breakfast as you can possibly eat. No, it's not a fat burning breakfast, but as we said earlier, the chances of you burning fat with high protein, high fat breakfast is far higher than a high carbohydrate standard one.